The phrase banality of evil, coined by the political thinker Hannah Arendt, encapsulates the unsettling truth that ordinary people can commit the most heinous of deeds. The images of the guards at the Bergen-Belsen camp serve as a grim testament to this idea. In their photographs, they appear unremarkable, almost mundane. Yet these individuals were instrumental in the machinery of genocide, underscoring the terrifying potential for evil that lies dormant in the commonplace. Bergen-Belsen, a Nazi concentration camp near the villages of Bergen and Belsen, about 10 miles northwest of Celle, Germany, was established in 1943. Was initially conceived as a holding facility for Jews intended for exchange, Germans held by the Allies. Camp, an extension of an existing prisoner of war camp, expanded to encompass 5 satellite camps. A prison camp, a special camp for Jews with South American papers, a star camp for those who bore the Yellow Star of David but were spared from uniforms, camp for Jews with citizenship in neutral countries, and a section for Hungarian Jews. It is estimated that around 120,000 prisoners passed through Bergen-Belsen during its operation from 1943 to 1945, though the SS's deliberate destruction of records means that only about 55,000 names are known. Conditions within the camp varied, with prisoners in the exchange camp initially receiving somewhat better treatment compared to others. While Bergen-Belsen did not have gas chambers, like those at other death camps, its horrors were no less profound. The winter of 1945 brought the death marches, forced evacuations of prisoners from the east, which swelled the camp's population to nearly 60,000, far beyond its intended capacity. The influx of prisoners, many of them Jews evacuated from Auschwitz and other eastern camps, led to severe shortages of food and shelter. Between January and mid-April 1945, more than 35,000 people perished in Bergen-Belsen due to starvation, overwork, disease, and a typhus epidemic that ravaged the camp. The living conditions became among the most appalling of any Nazi camp, resulting in a catastrophic death toll. Among the dead was Anne Frank, the young diarist whose words would later echo across generations. She succumbed to typhus in March 1945. When the British Army liberated the camp on April 15, 1945, they were met with scenes of unimaginable horror. Corpses lay strewn across the grounds, the living barely distinguishable from the dead. Richard Dimbleby of the BBC, who accompanied the liberators, painted a harrowing picture. Here over an acre of ground lay dead and dying people. You could not see which was which. The living lay with their heads against the corpses, and around them moved the awful, ghostly procession of emaciated, aimless people. The British soldiers, forced by necessity, buried thousands in mass graves hastily dug on the site. Bergen-Belsen, the first major Nazi camp liberated by Western Allies, quickly became infamous for the scale of its atrocity. In the aftermath, those SS members who survived the typhus epidemic were brought to trial. A military tribunal in Lüneburg, from September 17 to November 17, 1945, saw 45 of the camp's personnel, including its former commandant Josef Kramer, face justice. Of these, 11 were sentenced to death, including Kramer and several others, and were hanged on December 13, 1945, in Hamelin. 14 defendants were acquitted, and the remaining were sentenced to prison terms, though many had their sentences significantly reduced on appeal. By June 1955, all those sentenced in the Belsen trial had been released. Subsequent military tribunals in 1946 and 1948 tried 10 more members of the Belsen staff, 5 of whom were executed. If you enjoyed this video, please consider giving it a thumbs up and subscribing to our channel for more content. Also, don't forget to share this video with your friend. We appreciate your support. Bye.